Don't they? Yeah. Like those little red grapes. Right? Why do they have to be picked by hand? Why is it such a pain in the ass? Right? Well, those green ones aren't ripe yet, are they? I can't just take a big stick and knock them all down. I got to get them one at a time, get them when they're good. Right? This is how they get you. This is why we're paying $5 for a Starbucks. Right? The longer the roast, the less caffeine. All right? And I know this doesn't sound intuitive because the taste is really different, but heat is creating flavor, just like when you brown your vegetables before you make soup, or brown your meat before you make stew. You're adding more flavor. Right? But caffeine is sensitive to that, and it is going to die out. It is going to be less concentrated under those circumstances.
When they're doing half-calf coffees, like what is the, when you actually have a blend that says half-calf, how exactly does that work?
So there's two approaches, right? But essentially what we'll have is the decaffeinated ones, the ones that have been soaked in water before the roast. Right? And even that's not zero caffeine, right? You're going to have maybe 5 milligrams per a 5-ounce cup. And then one of these regular ones that's 100. I grind them together. I should get the average. 52.5 milligrams. Right? Half calf is still plenty of calf. And like the nicotine titration hypothesis, what would you guess?
Probably drink more.
Half calf is a tease.
Well, I drank it because a long time ago, I mean, I was like in my early 20s, and I worked the night shift, and so I was always drinking tons of coffee, like 3 months from my bonus. And I went to a cardiologist because I kept having heart palpitations, and he's like, you might want to cut down on the coffee, so I started drinking half-calf.
Wow.
I have not had the palpitations.
You're really fucking weak. I don't understand that.
I do feel like I drink more, but I'm not getting the palpitations.
Could have been worse.
What?
Could have been worse.
Okay.
All right, which of these is a xanthine? Is it A, coca leaves, B, theobromine? All right, amphetamine is not a xanthine, even though they rhyme. Robusta coffee, if you had to guess, comes from Africa. I saw everybody look back real quick. That was great. Right. If you have to guess, Brazil, go Arabica. I know it doesn't. Brazil is not an Arab country. This is where it is now. All right. You can teach a semester-long course on coffee. Coffee is totally nuts. There's a whole bunch of things going on. We'll get into some of the pros and cons, some of the alleged positive health effects of coffee, at least, if not caffeine. There's a whole bunch of chemicals in there. And then once you light anything on fire or roast it, a whole bunch more chemicals form. So we really don't know what's going on. And what a surprise, there's not a ton of government funding on, gee, let's find the exact thing that's doing everything in coffee. Right? We got more important problems. Right? Moving to tea, Camellia sinensis, originally grown in China, okay. Shenang, 2737 BC. Okay. You'll notice Shenang, black tea, Mahuang, always a favorite, and marijuana. Right. I talked to Tony de Blasi over in East Asian Studies. Shenang gets credit for fucking everything. First of all, 2737 BC, there wasn't even a China. Right? I mean, the land was there, but it wasn't like it was one giant country. It was a bunch of people beating the crap out of each other and stealing each other's shit. All right? It was a long time ago. This is kind of a legend. Right? And apparently everything agricultural gets credited to Shenang. So let's not make too big a deal out of it. Nevertheless, Shenang is hanging out by the fire, boiling in some water. I don't know why, because there wasn't any tea. And a plant leaf landed in the water and got boiled in there. And Shenang, being the adventurous soul he was, tossed out the leaf and said, let me try this. And it was delightful. And he went and hopped around with some goats. No. And that was the beginning of community synthesis, black tea. Okay. Now it has grown basically everywhere that's hot. Right? When we discussed opium, there was an allusion to tea. What was that all about? The Opium Wars. Why are they trying, Jonathan? The British were basically willing to make everyone in China an opiate addict so they could have afternoon tea with milk and sugar, a bit of lemon if you like. A bunch of Asian guys are all strung out on opium now, but we want tea. I've had some good tea, but not that good. And I've never had a tea that tasted as good as it smelled.